Hello and welcome everyone to the Wednesday, March 26th edition of the Special Interest Group for Contributor Experiences, America's edition of our biweekly meeting. We actually meet every week, but alternating weeks for America's and APAC friendly times. A reminder, we operate under a code of conduct, which essentially says to be respectful of your fellow speakers and attendees and generally be excellent to each other. Here at the beginning of the meeting, we like to offer an opportunity for anyone on the call to introduce themselves. This is totally optional, partially done because this meeting is recorded, so anyone on YouTube will know who's on the call. I'll kick things off. So, hello, I'm Kaslin Fields, and I am one of the co-chairs of the Special Interest Group for Contributor Experience. The purpose of this group is to handle a variety of aspects of the experience of being a contributor in open source Kubernetes. That involves things like GitHub management and contributor communications and mentoring programs and maintainer contributor events, all sorts of things, which we will go over the status of in this meeting. So you'll get to learn more there. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? Totally optional.
Yeah,
Hello,
sure. I
my
will.
name is V.
Go on ahead. I saw Numby first.
So actually, I'm driving, so as I was waiting, but sorry about that. Is it? Can you guys hear me?
Yep, no problem.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to I'm very interested in Kubernetes for a while, but now I have some opportunity time for me to learn it and then hopefully contribute some more. I was actually going through the startup documentation, and then I signed the CLA and so on, and I'm here to learn and contribute. That's it.
Welcome. We're excited to have you. Anyone else?
Yeah, sure. I'll go. Hey, all. I'm Sayak, and I'm working as a platform engineer right now. And I'm a relatively new member to this community. I've been working on the ContribEx website and the Docs website for a while, trying to get them up to speed and stuff. And yeah, and I'm a new reviewer too. I just got the reviewer access newly. And yeah, so
Yay, thank you. And thank you for being here. Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? Totally optional. All right, then. We will go and move right along. Another reminder, this is a very casual call. So if you missed the opportunity to introduce yourself and then later on you're like, wow, I really wish I'd done that, feel free to hop in, introduce yourself, ask questions throughout. If you feel comfortable unmuting, do so verbally. You can also ask questions in the chat. Last housekeeping item. We like to ask at the beginning of the call if anyone would be up to take on the role of note taker today. The purpose of the note taker is to have someone who is following along with the discussion and taking notes in our doc, which I shared in the chat. I'll share it again in the meeting chat now, just so that everyone has it. Yay, thank you. Perfect. I feel it's kind of self-explanatory. You take notes, and if people miss the meeting and they want to catch up on the notes, they have notes. Thank you very much, Koti. All right, and with that, I think that is all of our regular housekeeping stuff, and we can dive into our agenda. Our first sub-project to give us updates is the events sub-project. Are there any updates from the events sub-project? Anything going on right now? Anyone know?
No.
Oh, excellent.
No.
Very good. Busiest
Yeah,
season.
we have a maintainer summit is on Monday next week in London. One session dropped out yesterday. We will basically fill it up with another on-conference slot. which brings us to 6 total unconference slots. We currently have 9 proposed unconferences, so already more.
Although, as kind of expected, all of the unconference proposals I've seen have been from Kubernetes people.
Not all of them.
Yeah? Are there any that are non-Kubernetes?
Yes, there are at least 2 that are non-Kubernetes ones, which is funding beyond vendors and making the most of your project benefits.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, making the most of your project benefits is Bob, but
yeah, but the other funding
3
beyond vendors is not Bob.
Yeah. Okay. 3 of them are from Tim Hocken, of course.
I mean, we will have it announced in the morning. People can vote until lunchtime for additional sessions, and yeah. I mean, it's a lot of people need to learn it. Let's put it this way, how this works, and they only will learn it when they are there. The good thing is that I think we are sold out. It's I think it's like 350 was the limit, and we are over 350, so we are close to 380.
Oh wow, that picked up a lot in the past weeks.
That's a lot over.
Right.
Yeah.
380 people in 4 rooms?
They are big rooms.
Yeah, it's just going to be crowded.
Yeah, but that's the point, right?
Right. Good reason to advocate for having. Good reason to advocate for having more rooms next time.
Yeah, and that's there's also one really important thing, and we will. You know how people are usually not that good in filling out surveys. So we will basically push people to fill out the survey, because the survey is in the end where Linux Foundation will have a look at it, because they only look at surveys in the end. So basically, we need a lot of folks to fill out the survey if we want to continue to have something like this. And the more feedback we can get, the better it will be for, and we can continue having it. And I can say so much: we have 3 sponsors for this Maintainer Summit.
Nice. Well, is that good? Is 3 good, or do you feel like
it's
more
than
better than 0.
And in the past it was 0. So
okay, awesome.
I mean, I'd estimate that financially it's a loss, because to do the Maintainer Summit, the CNCF had to add a bunch more staff to the event, and I doubt that the total amount of the sponsorship covers the cost of that staff.
And 1 extra day. That's also, it's like the venue for 1 day more.
Well,
and food.
Yeah, we would have. Yeah. I mean, we would have advocated for the extra day regardless. For the Kubernetes Contributor Summit, I'm comparing it with the cost of the Contributor Summit.
And more people.
And more people. So
attending.
The
And I think in the past we went for someone said like 1.4K per person is the cost for Maintainer Summit or a Contributor Summit.
What was it again?
1.4K
per person. But this was the amount, I think, for I got this number like for Paris or something like this.
Well, Paris was a high point in cost, although I understand London's also very expensive.
But in general, we are looking forward to have everyone next Monday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody.
People are not nervous, no.
Wait,
but that's
sure they're not.
Who's nervous?
Yeah, who's people?
But that's it for events.
Wonderful. It's exciting to see this coming together. It's the second maintainer summit technically, but really the first one. um, and for anyone who doesn't have the context, we used to run Kubernetes contributor summits at KubeCon events. And the CNCF changed it with India in December of last year to be maintainer summits, which also include other projects beyond Kubernetes, and adds a day onto the conference and sponsorship and all of the things that we were just talking about. Speaking of which, I'm still curious what's going to happen with the other KubeCon since there's not a Monday to take.
Right.
Also, something I didn't mention about note taking. I apologize for stepping in and joining in on the note taking. It's really a collaborative effort, but we like to have someone focused on trying to do it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, moving on in the agenda, the next topic is mentoring. I learned something interesting about mentoring this week, actually. I was hearing from the etcd folks, and they were saying that they had 300 people, 300 candidates for their mentoring cohort that they just ran.
Yeah. The big, our big effort now is actually combing through all the applications.
Oh,
wow.
I mean, a lot of the applicants are not qualified. Like, they're enthusiastic, but they don't have any Go coding or documentation writing experience. They've never contributed to etcd or Kubernetes before, and that's not.
And these are
our target group.
These are generally, these are generally cohorts to train up like new reviewers and kind of leaders of the project. So they want folks who are already doing it a little bit, right? That's the idea of mentoring cohorts in general, usually.
This second round, we're reaching a little further down the contributor pyramid. Because we're actually in a relatively good place in terms of reviewers. So we are saying, hey, if you haven't contributed to etcd before, and this was in the application, and part of the reason we got so many people, if you haven't contributed to etcd before, but you have contributed to Kubernetes and right, and you're a Go programmer, right, then then apply, right? So we're willing to actually mentor people into being contributors, rather than the last one, which was you should already be a contributor. But we're not going to teach people how to write Go. And for my part, I'm just doing the documentation part. So Nate and I are doing the documentation contributors, for which we have, I think, 70 applicants. And again, our qualifications are: you either need to be a serious etcd user, right? So you actually know etcd from a user perspective, or you need to have experience writing documentation. But but a lot of our applicants are obviously coming in and they don't have any experience writing documentation. They've never used etcd before. So those people are not going to qualify, because it's too much to teach them, right? If we have to start from zero, we won't actually get anywhere.
However, it is great that 300 people applied. Yeah. So with the small social, I mean, we did like 2 shout outs on the channels, and I think I also mentioned it in one of the new country. So one NCO meeting also had it.
Also, Josh, did I hear you say that there's a docs? There's a second etcd mentorship cohort that's spinning up. The 300 was for the mentorship cohort that's just wrapping up. Cat, and
no.
So
there's
another etcd.
Docs is included. Docs is included. That was an option.
Because, as part of the etcd one?
Yes. Yeah, we need people to work on the docs. As a matter of fact, that's a place where we can actually use more new contributors, I think, than we can on the code even necessarily. So that was included. So those 70 odd are a subset of the 300.
I've also been saying for like a month now that I want to start up a mentoring cohort for social media for the comms team. Mm-hmm. I want to kick off that after KubeCon. So I want to spend some time, hopefully today, maybe writing up what the goal of that is.
Yeah. ideally, we would have that mentoring cohort start after we merge the blogs.
Fair point.
Because
But
right
this
now
is
I
for
don't want to
social.
put anybody new. I don't want to put anybody new on the blogs because it's a mess.
No.
This is for
Not
social.
blogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just
Blogs
for
are not
Blue
part of
Sky,
social?
X,
Oh, but just Blue Sky.
LinkedIn.
Okay.
This is not about
Okay.
blogs.
Yeah,
Okay.
no blog attachment on social here.
Yeah. We do need probably another cohort on blogging reviewers.
Yes.
That should probably go after the blog merge, if that's happening.
Yeah.
Hello, Sayak.
Yeah.
You haven't been on a lot of these conversations that we've been having.
Yeah. I mean, one of our big challenges in recruiting people, I'll tell you from going through the doc stuff, for example, for docs, volunteers, and that sort of thing, right, is where we're getting a lot of new contributors is around the world, and a lot of it is coming from countries where English is a second language, which can make it challenging to recruit people who are comfortable doing a lot of work in long form English. It's a lot more effort for them.
Yeah.
So that'll be challenging, but first we have to reorganize the blog so that it's even like reasonable to ask somebody to contribute. Because right now I don't want to put anybody on it.
Speaking of which, I'm just curious, Sayak, how much of the conversation about merging the blogs have you heard? Is this the first you're hearing about it?
No, I have heard about it. I've read through the Slack threads that has been going on. Like I was even thinking about something in line of like, what if the two sites were merged in a way?
We've been talking about that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben has a lot of thoughts on that. If you're curious to talk to somebody and they're salient. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we all have a lot of thoughts on it.
It's pretty much I have not been like putting my thoughts out yet, because I don't really want to. Yeah, I don't really want to derail anything, but I've been thinking about like either making two separate websites, making a single website out of this two disparate content, or the other idea was like, if we could have different repositories for each of this content, and have the technical side of the things be served as a single repository, so that the look and feel and the workings could be the same for both, but the content can be managed in either of them based on like there was this discussion wherein the blogs of the website is actually more critically evaluated than the ones in the ContribEx. So that can be done in the same way, but the technical stuff can be managed in a single place. So I was thinking a few things, but
good. I just wanted to check that you were following along with it and thinking thoughts.
Yeah.
Thinking.
Yeah. I mean, basically the emphasis is to merge the teams, because right now we have 3 reviewers on the contributor blog and 2 reviewers on the main blog, and that's just not enough.
Do we have?
But
3? Granted, one of them is the same on
currently. Yeah, the way that things are currently set up, if we decide to mirror a blog from the contributor blog to the main blog, which we do a lot, it's a lot of steps.
Yeah.
So I think, I think the most important point for us to mention here, we'll try not to rehash the entire discussion that's going on there. But a key part of it is we need more blog reviewers.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happens. So starting up a mentoring cohort on blog reviewers is probably a good idea. We mention it each time in the new contributor orientation. I think it hasn't gotten much traction because blog reviewing is not exactly the most flashy contributor opportunity for new contributors.
Well,
but making it into a mentoring cohort might make it a little more attractive.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I mean, the one of the big challenges right now is it's not an opportunity we can just plug somebody into.
Right.
It's,
style
just say, hey,
if
we had somebody who come to us right now who said, hey, I used to edit my student newspaper. I'd like to help with, blog reviewing, etc. How do I get started? We'd be like, well, here's some PRs.
Here's a bunch of docs. Here's some PRs.
Right, and they're like, okay, this thing looks like it's in good shape. How do I actually move it along? And we'd be like, we'll get back to you on that. And want to straighten all of that out before we do a mentoring cohort.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got to get that figured out.
Yeah. So I think we're all on the same page with this. I think we can't make any progress on it until after KubeCon. So it's good for us to keep it top of mind. I like the idea of doing these as mentoring cohorts. I'll try to make some progress on defining the mentoring cohort for the social program this week so that we have something ready going into post KubeCon. And then we'll probably have to do the same on blogs after KubeCon.
Yeah.
So that's some group mentoring stuff that's going on. Any external mentoring stuff that's going on? I think there were some updates on there last time. Josh, any external mentoring programs going on?
Just GOC is starting soon.
Google Summer of Code.
Yeah, the starting as in opening up for applications.
Yay! I'm glad that that's happening.
And other than that, I think we're in the middle of an LFX one. And as always, in the way of minor opportunities, we don't have anybody whose focus is outreachy. And because of how outreach is structured, we need a volunteer who is focused on that if we're going to participate.
What do we, can I ask what's entailed in that?
Yeah. They basically need to program manage it on an extremely part-time basis. Because it requires pulling several things together. They obviously have to care about diversity or they're not going to do it. And where it has to be sort of maintaining the outreachy cycles and then working with the folks in LFX and GSOC to borrow project opportunities, as well as advertising it to our internal community. Because particularly ideally we want to align outreach opportunities with teams that are more diversity positive. Because it varies a bit across the SIGs. And then the problem is that we need to get money for it. Because money. Google funds Google Summer of Code. We get some kind of tiny off the top percentage of CNCF revenue to go into LFX. So both of those are already funded. Outreachy is not. And you can actually get funding from various CNCF sponsors and probably from CNCF itself. But you'd obviously have to do the legwork for that.
Solid overview of the external programs here.
Yes. And that's why we're not doing anything about it without somebody focused on it, right? Because with LFX and GSOC, we just need to make sure we get the applications in. Outreachy is more involved.
Clearly, we need a mentoring cohort for the mentoring program so that we can mentor people to be owners of these programs. Yeah, they require very specific skills, so it's difficult to recruit for these. And it needs a lot of time, too. It's not just like a add up.
Well,
you need good
it's not a lot of time, but it's deadline oriented. So you can't necessarily make the time convenient for your own schedule.
Yeah, difficult.
Yeah.
Good overview. Thank you for that. It's exciting that we are a part of. Actually, do we have any projects submitted for Google Summer of Code or LFX? LFX at that stage right now?
I believe so. Like I think SIG Observability put something in for Google Summer Code. I have to look for where that list is.
Cool. I think that's good. We can probably move on to our next bullet point. I'll note that we think we have projects here.
Yeah.
Another thing that we want someone to help us with in the mentoring program is understanding what we have in these programs and encouraging SIG leadership to submit projects to these programs.
Yeah, if I actually had a mentee for mentoring, I actually do have a bunch of legwork I could assign to somebody who's new to this, which mainly just has to do with collecting a bunch of project opportunities, because and it would actually be good for somebody who's trying to get really kind of deeply involved in Kubernetes, because one of the things they need to do is run around and talk to a whole bunch of SIGs. So like the release team, it's a good idea, a good way to get introduced to a bunch of people, but it would be time consuming.
Yeah. Maybe something that we could talk about on the SIG ContribEx channel in Slack or something, like more regularly. If we brought it up more on the SIG ContribEx channel, I think we'd find folks who are interested in it, and maybe we'd find enough that we would find one that actually can do it.
Yeah. Not doing it this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's KubeCon time. All right, let's move on into comms. Anyone here from the comms team?
Yeah,
Make
someone's
that
hanging
joke in a
out.
while.
Yeah, someone's around here, I think. So we talked a lot.
About the first point?
Yeah, obviously the blog has been a significant amount of discussion, but I'm not going to rehash all that here. The first bullet, yeah. So the new contributor orientation, Caslin, Mario, and I were discussing like automating posts about that, and I figured out how to do it with Zapier. It's actually not that hard. So this is a way to routinely post something on a given date of the month, or obviously NCO, but we could take that further if you want. So if anybody has like certain messages that they want to go out on social media that can be automated and are semi-evergreen, we can do that.
I feel like the evergreen projects that we mentioned in NCO would be a good opportunity for that. So we should probably look into that.
Agreed. Yeah.
Maybe in the next comms meeting, we should go ahead and put it on in the agenda to just go over the evergreen opportunities that we talk about in new contributor orientation and see what we might want to do with that.
Yeah.
I like that idea. Another one of those is the maintainer summit. So Mario, if you have thoughts on that.
I mean,
on what we might want to tell folks about, maybe on the contributor channels, like opportunities to be part of the maintainer summit team are open, but we have just the program committee now, right? So we might not need that.
The program committee, and we will figure out eventually how people can also become chairs or something like this, but this is still in the beginning.
Yeah, sounds good.
It's not like it was where we're using like 35 volunteers.
Great.
Yeah.
I actually asked a question about changing a title or editing a title on Sketch, and I had completely forgot that CNCF manages that now. So my bad.
Hands off.
Yeah. It is interesting.
For us.
So we talked about NCO stuff. We need to create, Caslin and the comms team needs to create handbooks, videos, any kind of artifact that will help writing, staging, and publishing posts on social media around CubeCons, because there
Yeah,
are 5 this year.
I had a thought on that this week that I hadn't brought up with you yet, but I will go ahead and throw it out there.
Why not?
We'll see how much discussion it initiates. So KubeCon EU is next week. We have none of the tweets written. I've been working this week on using AI to produce all of those. And
Fun.
I've been working with AI tools at work and stuff, and it's not too hard to create a script that's like, here is input, give me output.
Right.
So I think I should be able to programmatically just be like, hey, AI, here's the list of tweets or social media posts that I need you to produce. For X, there's a 280 character limit. For LinkedIn, there's none. Go. And so I should be able to get all of those drafted kind of in one shot. Then they just need editing and posting. So there might be a shift going forward in this.
Interesting. I
I
like
was
that
thinking
idea.
about, yeah, this has been a program that can really easily bring people in because it's like, hey, here's the description of what you need to do. Go ahead and do it. All you need to do is write a little 280 character thing for us. And you've contributed, and it's very visible, and that's wonderful. But now, is anybody really going to write that on their own, or are they just going to have AI do it? And if they're just going to have AI do it, is it really that valuable for them to contribute in that way? Is what I'm thinking about this week.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody has access to like great AI tools, right? Like they cost money. So it's not like
True.
one
And this might
person's going to sit
change.
down with a free account. Yeah.
Windows
So
users would disagree.
no, there's
What
probably a lot
users?
of people that would be like, "Ugh."
Yeah.
But, if you're giving it something to analyze and then say, use this doc only to draft these things, and here's the character limit and metadata that you need. Yeah, that would be very quick, I think.
Yeah.
It would make short work of that. And then obviously we need a human to read those things as they're getting put into buffer and make sure they're good and not inaccurate. But yeah, that's very interesting. I hadn't thought of
Something
that.
for us to
Kind
think
of
about.
brilliant. Yeah.
Maybe. The main point of it is to offer folks an easy opportunity to get involved with contributing. But my question is, how much value is there for folks getting involved with that at this point? So
I
something
mean,
for us to think about.
yeah, one of the things I do all the time with documentation, new documentation contributors, new blog contributors, and that sort of thing is that people's writing and composition skills are not generally good.
No.
And this is not just an English as a second language thing. A lot of these folks who I've had to do, 6 rounds of edits with grew up speaking English. And one of the nice things about short form stuff like you put in Buffer is it's a very small, limited writing task.
Yeah.
So is it valuable to have a human write that from scratch by itself? No. Is it valuable to get them used to writing good text? Yes.
So one thing we might
shorter than
consider,
blog post, right?
Yeah, one thing we might consider
Yeah.
is that our rule so far has been, if you want to use AI to generate it, that's fine. Maybe we should change that to say,
Please
if
use.
you're going to be involved in this program, write it yourself. Anything that's not written at the end will AI generate to make sure that we have the content. And we'll do reviews for those who write it as an opportunity for folks to grow their writing skills. If that's our purpose,
Yeah.
then we can design it that way.
I like that.
We just got to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, my other experience with the current state of Gen AI for stuff is that it doesn't take less knowledge or writing skill to correct an AI than it does to write it in the first place.
Yeah, but that's at the review level. just different.
Yeah, but if we're moving effort from contributors to reviewers, we're moving it in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
Good point, Josh.
So another part of the process that we could implement would be like, write it yourself. Here's some guidelines for how you could have an AI do a first pass of reviews, but I don't know if that would be helpful. Probably not.
Where I found Gen AI to be more useful for contributors is actually to have it critique their grammar, because English grammar is challenging.
Yeah.
And
No kidding.
Grammarly is like $150 a month or something. So
no, it's not like that much.
I don't know. It's spendy, and a lot of people can get free or cheap AI credits on various AIs.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people use it as an overblown grammar checker. And that's useful. Because that's a big part of what I do in the blog posts is actually cleaning up people's grammar, and I don't blame them because English is a mess.
Yeah. This could be a good kind of tie-in between the blogging mentor cohort and the social media mentoring cohort.
Yeah.
We could have
for
kind of
that matter,
crossover with this project.
Yeah. For that matter, we could use a new contributor to LWKD. A couple of our regulars have dropped out, and it's now just me, Sriram, and Akansha. And we can get it out every week, but we could use one more person, because right now, if I'm not sure that an issue is going to go out the week after KubeCon because I'm not going to be available. And if it's down to 2 people, they just might not get it out. So it would be useful to have another person again. And again, starting out with something like Buffer, where they're only writing, 250 characters, and then moving up to a slightly longer form, which is LWKD, and then from there to the blog.
Do you want us to do any advertising that you want more people to help, or no?
Not right now. Post KubeCon, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a good one because we can plug people in. We can say, hey, here's your section. We already have a writing guide on what goes in that section. The thing that's a bit of a challenge for a lot of people is you have to have some experience with the Kubernetes project to understand what you're looking at. So we're prepared to deal with new writers. But if it's somebody who's never actually used Kubernetes before, they're going to be at sea.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very specific ask, I feel like. Have you used Kubernetes? Have you written social media posts or newsletters?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
But that's why
I love talking about how we can enable new contributors.
Same. I haven't onboarded anybody in the community this year yet, I don't think.
That we can fix that.
Oh, I know. But I remember doing them like once a month at one point. So.
Cool. So this is awesome conversation about stuff that's going on in comms. We have a lot of asks where we could train up new reviewers and also train new contributors. We just need to put a little structure around it. And I'm going to try to work on that some today.
Yeah, because actually it feels to me like if we had a page somewhere that mentioned these writing opportunities sort of all together, then it would make it clear that there was a path, as well as different levels people can plug into depending on their writing ability and other knowledge.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be like a super long doc. It could literally just be an outline, I feel like, with some guidance, like requirements, where to show up, that kind of thing.
We have used like good first issues for this kind of stuff in the past, but that hasn't worked very well for these types of opportunities.
Yeah.
They end up being umbrella issues that are open forever, and the deliverables aren't PRs, so you can't really close it with a PR. So probably not a good first issue, but we could come up with some kind of like a GitHub page or something where we track this info.
Yeah.
As part of the mentoring cohorts, probably. like, here's all the mentoring cohorts that we're running right now. We could think about how to do this. And this seems like a good opportunity. I wanted to add a new contributor orientation to our agenda. We've been discussing, as the SIG ContribEx leads, possibly making new contributor orientation into its own subproject. Because while it is kind of about mentoring, it's also kind of run separately, because it needs hosts. It's kind of just its own little thing. I don't know. I don't remember
So
what all of
I
our
guess my
arguments were.
question is, if it was its own sub-project, would that provide you an opportunity to recruit new people to lead it?
That's the thought.
Okay.
Is that it
That's
gives
the main
a
reason to make something a sub-project, right?
it gives
Yeah.
a leadership position for folks to
Okay.
achieve.
Okay. If there's that
That
opportunity,
makes
then
sense.
+1 from me.
Yeah, same.
I think I don't know if we'll do it or not, but I kind of want to add it in as kind of its own section for us to talk about here in the meeting today, at least, and we'll see how
Yeah.
that goes.
Yeah, it might actually be even worthwhile to give it a repository.
Yeah,
because
it does have
Yes.
its own.
Yes.
Well, it's within mentoring right now, actually.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's just the community repository is big and messy. And particularly if we're going to be trying to recruit new leadership for it, it might be great to spin it off into its own repo.
Yeah, good thoughts.
Yeah.
Good thoughts.
Mhm.
Into its own repo, taking down some quick notes about what we've discussed so far. Maybe its own subproject for the purpose of recruitment. And an update on recruitment. In February, we had Arpit run the America's edition of New Contributor Orientation, which was the first time someone other than myself and Mario ran one, which was really awesome. Arpit had a great time doing it. He asked to do it again, which is great. And we also had a new person run March, who had just reached out and they said that they were interested in doing it. We had a training session where he ran through the content and he delivered March. And he asked to do it again in April to refine his delivery. And so
Nice.
we have April covered. And we have another volunteer, maybe for May. And then I have another volunteer who I was just talking to for the Americas one again. And so we could go all the way out to June with this at least. And
Dang.
then we had at least one person mention interest in EMEA back when we first started it. And I still need to reach back out to them to get them kind of trained up and ready to go and get them assigned to one. So with the number of folks that we have volunteering for the Americas, one thing I am thinking about right now is when I defined the handbook, I defined it with the theme of a new contributor orientation delivered is better than one not delivered. So we have a roughly monthly schedule, but that's not a requirement. So we could actually add in extra new contributor orientations if we want to train up new folks and give them an opportunity to give one. Maybe align it with KubeCon. Think about how we could get more folks trained up and ready to go on it. Because I'm sure there will be, this is a time when we have a lot of folks volunteering, but I'm sure there will be times when we don't as
Right.
well.
I am curious about attendance because I was in the Americas one last time, and by the
Yep.
time we got done, 3 total attendees in the call.
It was low last time. It's been dropping. I think part of that is because the first one we had a good social media push for it.
Right.
And subsequent ones we haven't. I think after KubeCon we'll get a bump.
Yes.
And with the new social media posts, I think we'll get a bump.
Okay.
That's
That
my
could
thought.
work.
We can see how it goes.
Yeah. For the social media posts, we don't have a link in there yet. That might help. Although maybe not. Well, we do have a link. It's just to the calendar. Yeah. Never mind. That's fine.
Which I think is good because the
Yeah.
calendar should be
People
up to
need to
date if
know
we
the
put one on the
calendar
calendar.
exists. Yeah.
That too.
It's serving two purposes, basically.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that just don't know that calendar's out there.
Yeah, I do kind of wish there was like, here's when all the new contributor orientations will be. But that's kind of hard to do outside of the calendar, especially if we're going to throw in new ones.
Right. I mean, we could maybe do a spreadsheet and I don't know.
Why
There's
not link
Just
options.
something
people?
else
Yeah,
to
why not
maintain.
link people to the page?
The GitHub page, that is one thing that we do. But the GitHub page, if you want to find out when the next one is happening, you still have to go to the calendar.
So
Right.
so how about finish the actual display page in Kubernetes.dev with the embedded calendar in it, since that's a thing we can do there.
Well, yeah, that's a great idea.
Display page
So,
in Gates.dev? You mean like the
a
new contributor
standalone page
orientation?
for
Yeah, there's
NCO.
a stub page in Gates.dev right now that simply
Oh,
links
right.
to the
That's
page
true.
in the repo. But it could be, we could move all the text into that page. And one of the things that we can do on the actual page is embed calendars.
Could we have a calendar that's just the new contributor orientation sessions? I don't know if that's
Yeah,
possible.
I don't. Yeah,
There's
no, it
got to be
might.
some kind of filtering.
Yeah, it might be. I don't necessarily know a whole lot about the calendar widget.
Me either.
It's something that we could fix. I don't know if the effort required to fix this is worth the trouble.
Yeah. You know what? How about somebody files a help wanted issue and describes the problem?
Yeah,
Because
possibly.
there's got to be web devs out there who want to be involved in Kubernetes.
Right.
And the nice thing about it is that somebody who actually does JavaScript is going to be better at fixing the calendar widget than I am, if that's what it takes. We actually already have a help wanted out there about fixing formatting for the calendar widget on mobile. So
I think the first and foremost issue for us with new contributor orientation, though, is making sure that we have that steady stream of folks who are interested and willing and trained to give them. So we've got the 2 who are trained and ready to go. I want to reach out to a couple more and then kind of create a chat room or a thread in SIG ContribEx or something where we can all talk and be like, "Hey, are you comfortable? Do you have something to do? Are you ready to go?" Kind of get that pipeline going. I think that's what I have for new contributor orientation. We could also have a discussion about the content of the help wanteds. I think there's more work to be done there, but I think that's a conversation for later. We have 7 minutes left.
Yeah, we have 7 minutes left. Yeah.
So I think let's move on to the next item in our agenda. Most of these ones we usually don't have many updates on, but let's find out. Contributor documentation. The new contributor orientation page is kind of part of that. Any other updates on contributor documentation from anyone? I wouldn't think so.
I got nothing.
We have a contributor guide on Kates.dev, so that's good. Kates.dev/course.
Nice.
Next one, moderation and media. There was a request on the SIG ContribEx channel to sunset a channel in Slack. And I was like, a request for Slack moderators. We've been talking about how we don't really have those right now. Is this going to get taken care of? Bob explained how to do it. So they don't actually need a Slack admin to do it. They can do it themselves, it looks like, for this request. So it seems like that's probably handled. I'll check back in with Tabby to make sure that that's okay.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. K8.dev/course. To sunset a channel looks like it will be handled by the requesters. Any other moderation and media items that we want to talk about? Zoom, Slack, YouTube stuff. There was a a volunteer to take on Zoom admin stuff, and I still haven't reached out to them. I need to do that right now. I'm going to do it. Did I reach out to them actually? No. Yes. No. All right. Interested Zoom admin has been reached out to. And on YouTube, we introduced Arpit as a new YouTube admin like a month ago. I don't think there's any particular updates there, right? We have 4 minutes left. Next one, GitHub management. Any particular updates on GitHub management from this group? There's a big list of folks on GitHub management, and none of them are here. I think that's fine. Elections. Josh, do you want to say anything about elections? There is a discussion item.
Nothing going on right now.
Cool. So let's move on to the discussion item, which is KubeCon India and Japan. I was actually just thinking about this. One thing I want to mention is I am planning to go to KubeCon Japan. I still need to get that confirmed with my leadership, but I think that will be fine. I do have a talk there. So I'm thinking about things that I can do to help with KubeCon Japan comms.
Yeah, I mean, actually, my question was sort of more, sort of bigger for that, which is that right now there isn't a maintainer summit planned for either KubeCon India or Japan.
Right.
Oh, there isn't.
None has been publicized.
Okay.
And at this
This
point,
was actually
Japan is close enough that I don't think that they could have one at this point. So,
Right.
And given that, and assuming that there's not one in India either, which quite possibly there's not,
yeah.
do we want to have, is there an opportunity for us to have any kind of organized contributor activities for either of those events?
Yeah, the last time we had a SIG ContribEx leads sync, the leads who are based in India were saying that they would really like to have a maintainer event in India because it was very popular when they held it in December, even though it was kind of last minute. So there is interest. Mario was going to look into it as a current chair of the maintainer summit on the CNCF side.
Okay. If we don't, okay, I'll connect with Priyanka and Namrun, and yeah, because if they're not planning on having a CNCF maintainer summit, I'd like to do a mini Kubernetes contributor thing, right?
Yeah, because they were also interested in that.
Do a 1 day, 1 room thing, and right now I'm slated to go, so I can help organize it.
Very nice.
Cool.
For that matter, one of my coworkers, who's not a registered Kubernetes contributor but is an experienced events manager, is going to Japan. So if we organize anything for Japan, I could volunteer her as well for organizational skills.
We need to figure out if there's anyone in Japan who we need to coordinate stuff with on the open source side, on the Kubernetes side for Japan. There's no maintainer summit, but I'm sure there's still stuff that we'll want to talk about. We were talking about something earlier.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, like the tweets project and stuff.
Yeah, and the thing is, if we're asking, we do something like ask the CNCF for a single room on the day of the colos, they can probably provide, right? What they're going to not be keen on is something on the order of a full Kubernetes contributor summit.
We could do just like a couple hours thing of just a big Kubernetes contributor get together in Japan, just like hang out at tables, meet each other.
Yeah. I mean, you could do something that was like a meet and greet followed by a reception.
Yeah.
Although meet and greet is kind of dependent on how many senior contributors are going, but I think Japan's going to be popular and people wanting to go. Whether or not it's popular and people being able to go is another question entirely.
Yeah, I'm hearing good things from the CNCF folks that it's trending toward selling out already.
Wow.
It's
That's
actually
great.
trending towards selling out faster than India.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Yeah, very
So
interesting.
I learned this past month or so. I have a person in the OSPO in new job.
We're a minute
That
over,
live
by
in,
the way, but
yeah,
continue.
sorry.
Oh,
I just wanted to put this
yeah,
out
we
there
got
for
one.
other folks in case they didn't realize it. There is some kind of restriction on bringing certain medications to Japan.
Oh, yes, that is true.
And yeah, so I won't be going to Japan anytime soon, I don't think. But we might want to put something out about that. I don't know.
Yeah, that is an interesting point.
Like, be sure to check your immigration and especially like stuff like medications. Yeah.
Yeah. We learned that NyQuil, which is a common medication in the United States, cold medication
Hmm.
that combines a couple of different uh, medicines, is banned in Japan
Damn.
because
Yeah.
they
Wow.
have very strict rules against like anything that makes you sleepy,
Hmm.
which NyQuil is famous for doing.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of the stuff I take to deal with all my injuries is stuff that can make you sleepy.
And Japan doesn't like that. They want you to be
Mm-mm.
alert while you're miserable.
Great.
Some medication restrictions that we might want to inform the community about.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And we are
And
2
I don't,
minutes over.
yeah, sorry.
All good. Any beyond last minute items that folks want to mention? We've covered a lot today. This was really awesome. Thank you all for joining. And with that, I think I will turn off the recording. So thank you very much for joining us, YouTube. See ya.
Bye.